Hello there. It's Lisa Starr with another episode of StarrCast. And I have a super interesting guest today because her journey has been very unique from spa operations over into the big world of global branding and cosmetics and mass market sales. And she has a wealth of experience to share with us. So I'd like to introduce Suzanne Pengelly, who starting very soon will be the general manager for North America of Elemis, a brand all of us in the spa industry are very familiar with. So thank you, Suzanne, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure it is to be with you.
Thank you. So Suzanne and I met, oh, we don't want to say how many years ago. And she was working in a spa in New Jersey, but we're going to backtrack from there and ask Suzanne about, where did your journey begin, as all people do when you're a young girl? Did you dream of working in spas?
It's interesting. I never dreamt of working in spas, but I naturally migrated there. So I started in the industry, of course, it's been over, I guess, 20, 25 years. And I started working at a spa in Princeton, New Jersey, and it helped to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, after just a few weeks of being there, I felt at home. And so it was easy for me to excel from the front desk manager
Mm-hmm.
into, front desk check in person to front desk manager
Uh-huh.
to spa manager because I loved everything about it. So originally, of course, it was to help me to pay my bills.
You
Uh,
had graduated university at this
Not
point?
yet. Not yet.
Oh.
I
Mhm.
was, it was really from when I started college until when I ended college. And what a gift it was for me to be
Really?
able to learn about the industry, learn about products, learn, of course, what was working, what wasn't, how we could become more efficient.
Mhm.
And it was a business course in itself. And so that's really when I began and when my love affair started with product and with the industry and how far it could go in terms of wellness.
Well, that's so great. We often stumble upon something, right? So you have this position to help pay your bills as you go through college, and you end up saying, "Well, I actually really like this."
It's so true. There was a point even during that time that I had considered stop going to school and to
Mhm.
get my aesthetics license
Mm.
because I loved it so much. And I really felt, like I said before, at home
Mhm.
with skincare and with the business. Of course, I chose not to do that.
I'm sure your parents were happy that you finished your university.
My mother was quite clear. Let's
Uh-huh.
finish school, and then if you want to do that as something else as well, of course, she was fully encouraged. She just wanted me to love what I do.
Of course, that's what any of us want. So when you did finish school, what was the logical next step for you?
The logical next step, I knew I wanted to be in New York City. And I took a job in technical recruiting. Really, it was. So I
Mhm.
was a headhunter for big banks and then also for startup technology companies. And while it didn't come as easy to me,
Mhm.
it was such a gift to learn at that time the technology that would drive businesses and startups. And,
Mhm.
it's the first time I had ever read a Wall Street Journal.
Mm.
I had to learn, who
The language of business.
I didn't even know who the banks were. I didn't know that Goldman Sachs was a big deal or
Mhm.
JP Morgan. So I was naturally just talking to a lot of these people off of a
Mm.
script. And so anyway, I did that and I loved it and I did pretty well, candidly. And unfortunately, 9/11 happened.
Mm.
And so the world, of course, turned
Changed,
changed,
especially for those banks.
especially for those banks, certainly for the startups. And for me, it was a real pivotal moment because I did feel impacted, much like so many others. And I said to myself, where do I feel most at home? And so I
Mm.
went back to the spa industry
Mhm.
because it brought me comfort. It grounded me. I knew that the people around me, of course, I always got along because we were all talking a similar language
Mhm.
and having a lot of fun. And so I did migrate back to the world of spa, and it was, spa management.
Mhm. So how long did you stay in that role, Suzanne?
Oh, that was a few years. So it must have been about 3 or 4 years.
Hmm.
And part of my project was it was working with Robert Wood Johnson Wellness Center, as
Hmm.
you remember. And what one of the things was that I had to open up a retail store that
Mm.
that really complemented the spa. And so I took my time to choose the right brands that would come in from a lifestyle perspective. And one of the brands, or two of the brands, were June Jacobs Spa Collection and
Hmm.
Peter Thomas Roth.
Hmm.
And after developing a rapport with the brand, they invited me and asked me to come work for them in New York. And I thought, well,
Oh.
I guess I can come back. And I knew the products intimately. I had
Hmm.
done my research. I was really enthusiastic about transitioning back onto or excuse me, at first to the brand side and to learn what it took.
Hmm.
So I started out there as really in customer service. It was customer development and then business development. I developed, fortunately, it was great timing.
Hmm.
I was able to develop their spa business because that's what I knew. It was developing protocols, working with the estheticians, working with day spas, and
Mm.
talking to them about how they can maximize their retail.
Mm.
And it all came so naturally to me because, one, I had an eagerness to listen to the
Mm.
people, and two, because I came from it, so I
Right.
understood, like, okay, well, this is a challenge when you're looking at your nightly sales, or this is how you should incentivize your employees. So I did that, and then
Well, it's perfect that I can see why they went after you. I mean, having someone that understands the brand but understands the market you're selling into. It's very difficult for people who are trying to sell into any market when they don't know the challenges those businesses face, but you obviously had firsthand experience in that.
yeah, and I think they were a little bit ahead of their time, because what we're seeing now, even in my world, is that you're seeing companies like Madison Reed. Of course, it's a hair
Mhm.
care brand. I mean, they're bringing in hairstylists to sell their product. You see a lot of skincare brands that really want to make sure that there are aesthetic licenses coming in,
Mhm.
because they can speak to a knowledge and that most people cannot, and the learning curve can be steep for some.
Mhm.
So I do think that Peter and June were a little bit ahead of their time in bringing me in, because not
Mhm.
everybody was doing it back then. Now you see it more and more, and I would say
Yes.
it's very, very effective.
So you spent how much time working with those spa brands?
I was working with Peter and with June for about I guess about 7 years.
Mhm.
And part of that journey was we were introduced to QVC,
Mm.
and which was almost the antithesis of spa, right?
Yes.
Because it was like, well, we've just built this whole spa world. Why would we ever go on QVC? But what we found after I listened to Peter, because I didn't want to do it,
Mm.
truth be told. Um, we went on, and what we saw was it created a platform,
Mm.
and it really helped to create a halo even for the spa brands, because it was brand awareness and exposure. And so from that, I spent a lot of time on the business development, but mainly on QVC,
Mhm.
where it was more storytelling, content development, all about the ingredients. So again, very natural to me. And so after about, I guess, over 7 years there, I was recruited by Cody, who had just acquired Philosophy, who was another direct to consumer
Mhm.
brand. And so I spent some time there.
Mhm.
And
And Cody, I mean, that's your first jump into a big, really global company, though.
yes, exactly. And Cody, it was an interesting time to go. I mean, I knew that it would help to develop my knowledge base on television shopping, because it was like getting my PhD at QVC in
For
many ways.
sure. And, for listeners at that time, QVC was a force. I mean, I wasn't one, but people were watching it and buying. Amazing sales were created because it was really before e-commerce was so big, especially in the makeup and cosmetic space.
It's true. I mean, at that time it was only a few hundred million, and it went to well over a billion. just over the course of a few years, and heritage brands and very strong ingredient based brands such as Bare Minerals,
Mm-hmm.
Philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
Paracone. These were some of the brands that helped to build Peter, of course, build their portfolio.
So you spent some time at Coty learning what was the difference there about that sort of more mass approach? Did you learn anything specific?
Oh, sure. My goodness, I learn every day. And I learned a lot in that role. One, it was transitioning. I had to transition the business from Arizona to New York. And
Mm,
so the sheer workload in terms of creating process and operations, again, when I think about, wasn't that different, just on a different scale
mm-hmm.
than what I did learned in the spa, because it was identifying the pain points, looking what was working, making sure that we're maximizing that or pushing that. And so I had to bring a lot of the knowledge transfer from Phoenix to New York, build an entirely new team.
Mm,
And it was for the business that I was running, of course, was about 70% of their business across all of direct to consumer. So it was important that it worked. So
yes.
I needed the management to be on board with my ideas and to help coach me, because I had never been through such a massive integration and transition from a founder led brand into a big business.
That sounds like great training though, like grad school, right?
It was so much fun, and of course the teams were incredible, and I was able to build and learn every day. Like I said before, it was really
Mm-hmm.
a gift.
So what led you to your next role at that point?
Some of the management left and
Mm-hmm.
decided to make a move, and I was really like the direct to consumer queen,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms
After your
of,
QVC experience, for sure.
yeah, it was ecom. If you have questions about ecom, if you have questions about, what we call owned businesses, so our own retail space or own website, or a relationship that's more of a storytelling, and now pair that with integrating a brand from one location to the next, it's really why they brought me on or to Shiseido, because they
Mm-hmm.
were leaving and they needed to do the same thing for Bare Minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And Shiseido had acquired Bare Minerals for quite a bit of money, and they needed it to succeed. So they transitioned. We had to transition the business from San Francisco to New York
Mm-hmm.
and try to find as much efficiencies as possible. So that, and on top of it, it was learning every other retail business. So now I suddenly had to understand wholesale. So the relationships with
Mm,
Sephora, with Ulta, with
mm,
even the
right.
military bases. And if I'm honest with you, I was incredibly overwhelmed. I
Mm-hmm.
thought, what have I done? This is
Uh-huh.
crazy. But it allowed me to learn every single point of distribution as it pertains to retail, and which was exactly why I took the role, because I
Uh-huh.
didn't want to be known. I wanted to diversify.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So now you have the direct to consumer retail, the direct to consumer service from the spa, and now these other points of commerce. So you have a very deep understanding now, Suzanne, of how to sell cosmetics and skincare in all
Yeah.
these different venues.
But let me tell you, Lisa, I just have to say the thing that taught me the most about retail distribution and what sells product,
Mm-hmm.
by listening to the people that actually sell the product.
Uh-huh.
They are truly the voice of the customer. And so I learned so much from the estheticians. I learned so much from the people in the stores. I would just go on field tours
Mm-hmm.
and meet with people. And I would develop, it was our library of sound bites of what resonated with the consumer and what
Mm-hmm.
didn't, to have that level of transparency with product and authenticity with product that really so few other brands really had.
Mm.
So it was because of the people. And I am a firm believer that if you go to your sales force, or if you go to the people that are using the product the most, they can unleash a level of understanding and what's resonating with the consumer more so than any marketing department or any study.
Well, good for you, because here you are in your office in the Ivory Tower in New York, but you have a marketing department, but you're venturing out and asking, as you said, the end user, and that's sort of that ground level research that really pays off.
For sure, for sure. That and reading reviews, it's understanding the customer sentiment. That's
Hmm.
always been. I used to do before they had technology to actually source the information and the sentiment. I used to develop word clouds and show the organization. This is what she's saying about our product.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do about that? The good, the bad, and the indifferent. So I'm a firm believer. I could not stress it more that the customer will tell you, and you have to really, really listen to her.
So Bear is a clean, pride themselves on that, sustainable, like moving forward brand. And it was the right time for that, especially the last 4 or 5 years. Could you talk a little bit about that growth in the company and how you managed to focus on those elements?
Absolutely. Bear was ahead of its time. It had started creating clean formulas, and they were never overt about it. So they were
Hmm.
never taking credit for what they actually had done. And it was one of the brands that really pioneered clean beauty.
Mm.
And so now talking about what clean is in the industry, it's almost, a given that you have to be clean going forward.
Hmm.
It's
It
just,
is.
it is what it is. And if you're not, then you need to have the transparency or the understanding. You have to tell the consumer, why am I not?
Hmm.
So where it used to be something that you can highlight as a point of differentiation, it's really no longer going to be that way because the beauty industry has evolved. You see it with retailers that are getting behind clean beauty in a more meaningful manner,
Hmm.
like Sephora, like the Ultas of the world, even like QVC.
Oh, well, now we have Credo in those places that only sell clean, correct?
That's exactly right. And I do think that there's such a market for it, and people are willing to spend more because, especially after you're getting treatments, and why do all of
Mhm.
this, pardon me, to put chemicals on your skin that you're not sure about?
Right.
Because if you do the research, you'll see some will say that it's okay, others will say it's not. And really, if I come
Do
from
you wanna take that risk
why would you take that risk?
when you don't have to? We don't have to wear poisonous lipstick.
Exactly. Exactly. When you think of how many times you're licking your lips,
Uh-huh.
just go to the way that you operate, right? So
So you really focused on having Bear really trumpet their story a bit more because, as you say, it had always been clean and it just wasn't a thing that they made a lot of noise about.
yeah, and I think the other thing that's complicated it, or that was a challenge, certainly for Bear, and I think for many other brands, is that there's really no definition of clean. The
Mm.
industry is still trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
What is certified clean? I mean, there are some obvious ingredients that are,
Like
clearly
not
not
having parabens.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
But when you get down to a certain level, there's like in terms of the types of paraffins that are used, the way that it's sourced. I mean, suddenly it becomes very, very difficult, to really understand. Okay, well, Sephora's clean is different than QVC's clean, is
Mm.
different than Credo's clean, is different than suddenly they all vary a little bit, and so
Mm.
that was a real complication because as a brand, you had to merge all of the requirements and also what we thought was going to happen in the future and just make sure that you ticked off every single box because it
Mhm.
changes, I mean, truly on a regular basis.
Mhm. Well, you're right. That's a great point. I mean, clean is not a thing we can look up, and the FDA has said you have to be this or that, the way they have with organics. So, but consumers know they want it. That much we know.
Consumers know they want it.
They want clean beauty. So, what do you see, Suzanne, in your next role as will be a challenge as you transition into Elemis?
Well, at first I'll say that it was really a very natural decision for me. I mean, I of course I was very sad to leave my role because of the people, and the management was incredible, and really I had been around the management team for so many years. But what I would say is, when I first had the discussion and the interview process with Elemis, it was going back home again
Mm.
because there was such, they started in the spa. I can remember years
Mhm.
ago, I was in Dubai and I saw the brand Elemis. It was the first time I was
Mm.
introduced to the brand. And of course, it was in the spa. And so, I think what I'm most excited about, Lisa, in terms of going there, is to getting back into product, really mainly focusing on skincare, seeing how we can evolve an already incredible brand, from, certainly a clean perspective, and then also to a sustainability perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like I said before, it's table stakes now. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be, and the consumer is okay if you don't have everything perfect, but as long as you're transparent about that
Mm-hmm.
and have an end date in mind, they get it.
So Elemis products run the gamut from face to body. I mean, they're very well known, on cruise ships and in other countries. I think maybe a little less well known in North America, but Suzanne will take care of that.
Yeah. Fingers
So,
crossed.
so, what do you think the consumer response to COVID in retail? Like, how do you see that panning out as 2021 evolves?
So it's been interesting to watch, right? In the beginning, I think everybody was a little bit shell shocked. They didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. Certainly, I think the brands that pivoted immediately to digital, recognizing that brick and mortar would be impacted, or the brands that seemed to thrive, you would have had to had some sort of integration process already on the way or done in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we did see, a handful of the brands that were savvy in terms of pivoting mostly to digital and storytelling, um, survive and do quite well. They weren't as impacted. um, I think the consumer, when you think about the way that she's been shopping and what she's been going through in her personal life, I love, and I could say for myself, that people had a minute to reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the, with family values, with the idea of building relationships, this idea of inner beauty and outer beauty suddenly, like, really, it came up strong. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
for many people in the wellness world, it's like what we believe in, but the average consumer wasn't doing both internal and external.
Mm.
And so, what I've really loved to watch and to see is this idea of self care within the home, cooking differently,
Mm-hmm.
taking different supplements. So all of these ingestibles, it's going to have a moment, right?
Right.
Same thing with body care, taking baths. I know that even for myself, I have been taking so many baths. I've been soaking so much.
Mm-hmm.
My kids soak. They are, Mom, what product can I put
That's
on? I mean,
cute.
it's fantastic. I caught, just funny story. I caught my son meditating the other day, and I just started laughing. I was like, I
That's
love
so
this kid.
great.
But I do think that we've all had the ability to think of wellness in a new way, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been critical, I think, for people's state of mind.
Mm.
And so I'm enthusiastic, of course, of the acceleration of digital, and also the acceleration of wellness, and well-being beauty. uh, it's not going to go away.
No.
It's just not, because people see they've been able to reap the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
They understand that, whether it be, that bath that you're taking,
Mm-hmm.
or, as you're, I know, even for myself, I take a product and I smell it and then I just relax. I really
Mm-hmm.
try to be mindful and present. And every study that we see, we recognize that people are valuing that in a more meaningful way.
Well, I loved your point about the pause button, which we needed. We didn't realize we needed it, but we did, and we all had to stop what we were doing. And I think the fact that it was global to me was key, because I remember, in April saying, I just want to go to a country where this isn't happening, but there isn't one.
Right.
So we're all in it, and we all had to accept our new reality and make the best of it. And people did start to pay attention to their eating, their mindfulness, their body movement, their self-care, as you said. And there was a concern, I'll say later in the spring, May, as we started to see a horizon for spas to reopen, we were worried that consumers would come back. Will they be afraid of being touched, or is this the
Absolutely.
end? And, so we were all sort of biting our nails. And, what we've seen has been so encouraging. And all of the spas that I work with, or that I, interact with, I mean, are super busy. And as busy as they can be, even if they have capacity restrictions. So, what that says to me is the consumer who understands that yes, they are in charge of their wellness, but they do seek that high touch experience that the spa offers.
Absolutely. And that's what I think there's also a level of authority that they're looking for. Tell
Mm.
me what to do. I
Mm-hmm.
trust you now. They're seeing the benefits of them doing it at home. And so it will be amplified, of course, as you go into the spa and work with such a skilled individual.
Mm-hmm.
I think just as simple as the lack of touch
Mm-hmm.
has really deprived us of something that is natural. I mean, I know even for myself, just the inability to be able to hug,
Mm-hmm.
my extended family during the time. It was really difficult for me because I'm a hugger, right? And
Yeah, we're spa people. We hug. I mean, yeah.
we hug. So I do think that it is very encouraging to see that people, again, see the benefits of the high touch experience, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very true that we do crave that. I mean, and we've known for centuries that humans crave human touch, but now we got the evidence of it because we all felt we really missed it. And so many of us have said, "Oh, I just can't wait till I can," as you said, hug people again and I went to the Global Wellness Summit in November and it was the first conference I'd been to, obviously. Something that usually has 600 people and it had 100, and we sat 6 feet apart, but we were so thrilled to just be in the same room with each other. So it does bode well. I feel like our industry is going to really have a great lift from this, both from retail and the service perspective. And we'll see the role that Elemis plays in it. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Me too. Yes. But what I would say, I think the other thing that's kind of interesting with spa services specific to skincare, I think people have gotten comfortable with, it's like what I would call makeup optional skin,
Mm-hmm.
where you
Mm,
don't necessarily have to wear as much makeup. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think there's going to be a real color moment when
uh-huh.
people take off the masks. They're going to
Uh-huh.
want to actually express themselves. But I do think that for skincare in particular, people are taking better care of their skin. They're seeing once again the benefits, and they're a little bit more comfortable with not wearing as much. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's been really, I mean, the talk about inclusivity and diversity and all of that. I mean, people just being comfortable with their age and with their skin is, I think, another really positive thing that's come out of this.
Totally agree. And that's a great observation. We have all let our hair down, so to speak, and seen each other on Zoom, and you've seen people's dogs and kids in the background, and sort of a little bit of the artifice just kind of melted away, and we've become more ourselves, which is, I'm sure, a good thing.
Absolutely.
Well, I
Absolutely.
wish you the best of luck at Elemis. Can't wait to see what you do. Suzanne Pengelly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate it.